Greetings everyone, and welcome to another week of BlastCast. Of course, I am Jarus, and with me as always is my bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon. Well, before we get into the show this week, we're kind of looking for some input. Lightning and I have been kicking around some ideas about what we could do for additional shows, but without actually kind of giving suggestions, we're kind of looking at some ideas maybe that you have out there as a viewer of this channel, things you'd like to see us add to the channel, and bring you something a little bit different. Maybe it could be something not Star Citizen related, maybe it's additional Star Citizen content. Could be all sorts of different things, but let us know down below and we'll take a look and see if any of your ideas mesh with any of our ideas. Alright, so before we get into the all the videos that came out this week, the happy hour and the around the verse and so on, I'm going to go over real quick. There was a magazine called GameStar, which basically got to go to the Frankfurt office for a kind of an early playtest of 3.0. And from what they said about it, it looks like they're really happy with how it's coming. They said there was like one crash, but that's to be expected. I mean, it's not even a polished product or even close to release. Well, yeah, it's still got at least a month of testing or more after it comes out, but they were really happy about the way it came out, and it looked like a very impressive article. I'm going to put a link down below. You can find basically a transcription of the article on Reddit if you haven't read it already. So let's jump into the smaller of the two shows, maybe the longer of the two, but as I feel the smaller of the two, the happy hour. The happy hour mostly covered insurance and insurance-related issues, and if you're interested in how insurance is going to work in the verse, I would give that a watch. It looks like they're going to set up basically some initial markers of how much like insurance may cost. It ticks down per hour, what the max time limit is, 24 hours before it'll get completely wiped out, so you can just get your ship replaced and things like that. And then they're going to start playing with the numbers from there. How much, how often. There'll be modifiers depending upon how many ships you lose within a certain amount of time. The more ships, the faster ships. The faster you lose these ships, the greater the multiplier, and the harder and harder it will be and more expensive to replace those ships. So we'll have to see how it comes out, but of course, since it'll be an initial pass, the prices could be kind of ugly or they could be kind of low. We'll find out. Alright, on Around the Verse, there were a few things out there that were interesting and kind of, in some regards, kind of threw up, as usual, some debate on the forums. We're going to start with one of them that kind of caught some people's eyes. Working on the cargo placement within ships. They're setting the cargo grids and such, but when you blow up a ship, that's set up so the cargo debris would generate as a ship explodes. Now, basically, this goes back to the statement that people had a long time ago, basically saying cargo ships would essentially become loot pinatas. In a sense, that's kind of what it looks like a little bit. So the forum lit up about that. And I would imagine it kind of makes sense that if a ship blows up, maybe you can salvage some cargo out of it. I just hope that if that's the route that a pirate goes by taking out a ship, that they lose the vast majority of the cargo due to the damage.
So my only problem with the exploding thing, because I saw it and it was kind of neat. It's like, okay, it makes sense, but yeah, I agree. You shouldn't get 100% of the stuff. But the only, the second problem there is that ships are still exploding. And to me, a ship, especially like a spaceship, it shouldn't have a just explosion. Like, for example, one of the space shuttles, it's tragic to bring this up because, people died this, but the space shuttle took damage on the heat shield, basically, the ceramic tiles, and absolutely nothing went wrong in space. But when it was put to that extreme pressure of re-entering, basically it just started tearing the ship to pieces and it exploded because it was in extreme heat and re-entry and stuff. But in Star Citizen, everything's out in space. So, I mean, we have to have, reactor critical things.
Right, I'd like to see more just flat-out disabled ships where they have to, okay, the ship's disabled, we want to get the loot, now we have to deal with the crew inside. So, and of course, if the ship is tumbling, that makes problem with EVA and stuff like that. So I want to see a deeper, more complex system when it comes to getting what's in a ship as opposed to just explosions and you have some licorice over here and some some lollipops pop out over there, and you know, and some confetti. So it needs to be a little bit deeper than that. I think once again, ship explosions happen way too much. I really hope that 3.0 kind of change that. I hope that's not what we run into. I really like to see disabled ships. All right, so they made some improvements to the ground vehicles. The ground vehicles, the Dragonfly and the Nox, they were riding a bit close to the ground. And this is something that a lot of people pointed out, because on the Nox, the guns that are on the Nox are actually underneath it. And a lot of people kept saying how close that thing rides to the ground. The first time you hit a rock, you're going to smash the barrels of your gun right into the rock. And they've raised up the height of the levitation of them.
And then insta-break. Anybody flown into an asteroid and your front nose up and gets instantly destroyed, even if you touch it at 2 miles an hour?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a few weird explosions in my day. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that they're recognizing this issue, and they're going to go ahead and make sure that the vehicles can get around all the little obstacles and rocks and things without actually incurring a lot of bottoming out. They also went and showed the landing gear dynamics. One of the things here, when you look at the landing gear dynamics, where they bend and flex, you know, they're a little bouncy. They're a little bouncy right now. They need to basically have a little less of that. Like when you watch this Aurora land, it really looks like it looks like it's on pogo sticks more than on landing gear.
It doesn't look like the ship has any mass.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, that can be relative too to the gravity of the planet. I mean, that's a factor. We have to consider that, but it still should be stiffer. That needs to be done. Remember when they showed the Ursa rover for the first time driving around in the demonstration? A lot of people talked about how that the suspension needed to be a lot stiffer because the wheels would just slam all the way to the top really quickly. And but that's a tweak thing. But that's definitely something they're going to have to do, because that really looks weird. But still, I'm glad to see it though, because the way it's been on the ships, you really have to come down soft because there's been absolutely no suspension whatsoever. This is a great improvement either way. Well, it looks like they've also finished converting all the ships to Item System 2.0. And they're undergoing all the testing to make sure everything's working, everything's up to par. So that's a nice thing you can check off your list. And still, there's also been no delay, so it looks like we still might be getting into Evocati possibly this week, if not next. We'll see. Hopefully this week, since I just ordered a new SSD. We'll find out, though. I went a little psycho this week. I ordered a 960 gigabyte SSD for Star Citizen because I want to have enough room for the live build and the testing build. And the 250 that I was using, or am using currently, is also where I have my operating system, and I just kind of want to keep those separated. The Anvil Hurricane has now entered the white box phase, so this one will probably be flyable, I'd imagine. I wouldn't say by 3.0, but maybe some subsidiary or some small micro patch in between. It may become live before 3.1. If not, it will be in 3.1 if it's at this phase already. So for those of you who have purchased this ship, look forward to that within a build or two. CIG showed this weird picture. And Lightning, I don't know if you saw it, the ship jacker. Did you see that picture? It kind of looked like a Cyborg Man.
I don't think I did, no.
Yeah, it was really weird. Now let's go ahead and put it up here. It was like, I don't know how to put it. It looks like he's, you know, part man, part machine. And they said this is
justice.
Yeah, but they were saying, oh, you're something to be afraid of or whatnot. It really looked like a man who had so many cybernetic enhancements. For those of you who watch anime at all, sometimes when they show like cyborgs or close to human looking cyborgs, they'll have like little lines that indicate seams or something. How about the trailer for Cyberpunk? How you had
something more recent, Fallout 4, the synths in there. Actually,
yeah.
No, that was a mod. Never mind.
Well, remember the trailer for Cyberpunk? The lady, how she had the lines down, all the
Ghost
defining
in the
parts.
Shell, maybe.
Ghost in the Shell, that kind of thing. That's kind of what it looked like. And so I'm kind of curious to know what this is. Is it going to be our own Star Citizen version of the Reavers? I don't know. That would be really scary. And before we get into the main topic, the forums had one other thing that kind of fired up, and that was a little bit of a debate about the whole idea of needing to have a bed to log out in long distance travel. A lot of people are apparently unhappy with the concept that if you don't have a ship with a bed in it, or you just won't be able to log out in the middle of space. But the odd thing to me is that this is not new news. This has been part of the designs for a long time now. It seems odd to me that so many people would get upset about this at this point in time. The idea of needing to have a way to log out has been, I mean, that's what you get with a sim environment. These are sim systems, and I just don't get why people are upset. I mean, maybe you see some enlightening, but for me, I just don't get it.
Well, one thing is, most of the big ships have beds. Cutlass has bed. Freelancer has beds. The small exploration ships have beds. The 300 series has beds. The what's that other small one? The Alpha or the Mustang Beta, I think is the exploration one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's got an actual little kitchen area, like a little camper back. The Connie has beds. The Retaliator has beds. So I don't understand why people are mad unless they're just the pure, dogfighter or junkie kind of people. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to play dogfighters, but I imagine the way the game is going to be set up is if you have like an escort mission or whatever, it's probably going to be like, oh, well, we need a couple fighters for this escort. It's not going to be a huge long-range escort if it's asking for like a Hornet or
maybe
a
between
Gladius.
moons and a planet or something like that.
Yeah, so you're not going to have to worry about logging out. Like, you jump in there, all right, well, here's an escort mission. It'll probably take us like 15, 20 minutes, half an hour at the worst if there's combat. You jump in, you play that, and if that's all the time you have, then you're at a station, you go up to a room or whatever, and then you log out. It's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
I can see one argument, though, is if you had to, like, rent a room and stuff, that's just tedious. I mean, if you're on a station, they should be considered, like, log-out safe zones. Because, like, if you're in a ship, it takes you, like, a minute or two to find a bed and lay down, and boom, you log out. But if you're on a station and you just have to go, you shouldn't be punished for logging out, like, inside of a station. I mean, maybe you wake up in a bed or something, because it's like, oh, well, you logged out in the station. But
when you rent that room, was that anything like the second Zelda game where you walk into town, the lady's like, come inside, I'll restore your health?
Yeah, exactly like that, actually.
Then it might be totally worth it. No, so for me,
actually, that reminds me of something. This is not Star Citizen related at all. It was so everybody that knows Rockstar knows that they're making like Red Dead Redemption 2, and there's a lot of people like, oh, it's going to be on PC first, or not PC first, but like, oh, it's going to be on console. It's like, yeah, but they've talked about basically releasing it more or less at the same time, unless like there's major issues. And I saw like an ad like, ooh, this new upcoming Western MMO is coming out, and is it going to be better than the Red Dead Redemption 2? Are you tired of waiting for Red Dead Redemption 2? And it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to click on your stupid clickbait video. So I actually went and did a Google search, and interestingly enough, I did find it. It's I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. We can add it in post if we need to. But the article was talking about how they're going to try and make it as historically accurate as possible. And some people were like, well, can you play as a female desperado or whatever? And they're like, well, we don't care what, gender you want your character to be. I still hate that word, by the way. And so it's basically like the dialogue is going to be set up where it doesn't matter what you play as. However, the interesting thing about this article was about bedrooms and saloons and the upstairs of these many saloons. And there's like, we're not really sure how far we want to go with these rooms. Like how adult we want to make this game. And it's kind of like, what? And I think it's going to be a free-to-play game, like a freemium game. Yeah. And so I think the idea they're bouncing around is you'd actually pay like real-world money to go into the upstairs of these saloons and, have a quote-unquote good time. And the funny thing is, there was comments in there, and they were talking about they can't be wishy-washy about this, and they can't try and please everyone. They either need to just forget about it, don't do it, or go all in and say, boom, you know, if you want to do, you know, naughty, dirty things in the game, you know, whatever.
Just go the old Go 13 route in Nintendo. All you see is like a silhouette in the window, the lights go out, and your health goes to max. It's simple. It's very simple. You just go that route.
But the thing is that they're making a good point, is like, don't try and be wishy-washy about it. Either do it or don't do it. And don't try and be like, well, you know, we want to please our adult players, and like, then make it an adult game. If you don't want it to be an adult game, then don't make it an adult game.
Well, and that's a good point all across the board, because, you know, if you're going to do something, you need to just go in and do it. And see, here's the nature of it. Like, if you have less than an hour to play, if you've got 20 minutes to play, I recommend, if you want to fight something, do Arena Commander. That's kind of what it's there for. If you've got more than an hour to play, then you're probably going to want to log into the Persistent Universe. But I think that having Arena Commander and Star Marine are going to be good ways for people who have a limited time to jump into something quickly, to play some games, to have some fun, and then log out carefree and then go do their thing. I can't see the Persistent Universe being something that you're just going to log in. You're going to be able to get anything done in 10 minutes, other than maybe like send a few messages and then log back out.
Check the bank account.
Maybe your stocks
or whatever.
You know, but yeah, maybe you check your stocks, or if they have that system in there. But you're not going to do anything from traveling from A to anywhere in that amount of time. So, you know, when it comes to this part of the universe, I think it's a conflict where people are expecting a certain type of gameplay, even though it's been clearly defined. And this is kind of like, and it kind of goes back to a lot of things we talk about. It's this mixed message that's going on. As I said, you have these arcade controls with interactive mode that are meshed into a sim system that, you know, you can't mesh those things, and you have people playing around with basically these arcade systems, thinking, oh, this is an arcade shooter kind of thing, because this plays like a shooter. It's a shooter. But then you have all these other things are like, oh yeah, you got to go sleep in a bed. It's going to take you 3 hours to travel to the next system. It's going to take you, you know, this and this and this, and then, but those systems, you know, aren't congruent with one message, isn't congruent with the other. And so at some point in time, CIG has to buckle down and go, this is what we're doing, and that's the end of it. You know, it's going to be a sim light, so it's going to be, we need to make sure that the things we talked about, the beds, the system repairs, the salvaging, all of it, it's there, it takes time, it has to be done in a more sim environment, or not. You have to basically...
I think the game is just called Wild West Online.
Okay. Well, Wild West Online, I will wait for a Red Dead Redemption, because I don't care about MMOs. I want quick action shooting people, and that's what GTA offers me. I don't want to deal with that leveling up system, especially when the Old West. So
I don't know if it's going to have a level up system.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they're going to do. I know this isn't the show for it, but it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, what are they going to do to make it different than other things? If they don't make anything different, then whatever.
Well, that's the thing too. You have to make yourself different to stand out, and this is why I really feel that CIG needs to stay on the path of doing the you know, with the beds and things like that, and the deeper mining, because it needs to differentiate itself. If you don't differentiate, you're just another face in the crowd. You may have a few more things going on, but you know, you're just another face in the crowd. You really need to grab your certain player base, a loyal player base, one that you provide something that no one else provides, and you hold on to them forever. And like, you know, even a game as very niche as, say, EVE Online, they've had continual growth on that game, even though it is very hard and it is very niche. For a lot of people,
they have actually slowed down on their growth lately. It's kind of,
yeah, they're still growing though. That's
constant.
the thing, though. They're still growing though. That's the thing. You know, so they fill a niche right now that nobody else has. And they as people find the game or try it, they're experiencing something that no one else lets them experience, and it's because of that they're able to keep and maintain their business model. So Star Citizen needs to make sure they approach it the same way. But fortunately for the players who aren't looking for that all the time, they've offered 2 very playable games that let you have that instant satisfaction that you want as well. So, you know, I don't see that, as I said, just kind of a summary on that, I don't see the conflict with the bed idea. I think the beds, they've been pitched forever, and this isn't a surprise, and, you know, just plan ahead. Know much time you got to play, and if you know you only have an hour to play but you want to do something longer, get the Aurora out or something else that has a bed in it, and then go as far as you can and log out. But plan ahead. Choose your weapon. You know, choose your ship appropriately, and go from there. All right, and of course they had their remarkable video showing all the derelict ships and the interaction with that. This was really awesome. I really liked this video. It was kind of done in a kind of mini commercial documentary style. One of the things I liked about it, and one of the scenes I thought was, to me, was the most impressive on this, was they had a scene where there's a couple people that are welding into a hatch that's in the ground. Like the ship is under the ground, and then they open it and look down, and there's like, you know, there's chairs and there's dirt inside the ship. So what's great about that is, I remember a lot of people were concerned, like, are you going to be able to have tunnels and caves and stuff on the planets? But they're able, clearly from this, looks like, be able to put a ship underground, which is, like, in a sense, like a mini cave. So imagine, like, finding, like, oh, let's just say a Bengal carrier that's been mostly buried in a desert, like, just, and you go underground and there's sand pouring in from cracks and things like that. I mean, there's real potential here if they're able to do more than just lay them out on the surface, which also gives me hope, by the way, when I looked at this, for having bases that go underground. Like, you know, we talked about this before, like you would have a simple house on the top, but maybe a large structure down below, a whole complex. Something that looks simple on the top, but deceptive. And then, you know, it's actually a full-fledged pirate base down below or something. But this was really amazing, and when I look at something like this, I'm just excited about it. This is probably, to me, the most exciting element of the game right now. See, I've done a lot of salvaging, like, okay, for example, in Eve, you go out and you bring a salvager, and you look for the wreckages, and you get components and metals and things and whatnot, and you try to bring them back and put them on the market or whatever. In Elite Dangerous, pretty much you either get, when you destroy ships or find wreckages, you get these components, or you get these canisters. Now, I'll be honest about it, I hate the system in Elite Dangerous, because most of the times, like, you find something, it says, oh, if you pick this up, it's theft. I'm like, why? Why is it theft for sitting out in the middle of the space unclaimed? I didn't attack it, I didn't blow it up. But I don't see any options. I haven't seen any options anyway for a official salvaging license. Now, if it had a system like that, I would totally understand. But I remember I was watching Minion Soldier yesterday, what's like a great YouTuber. He was talking about the distinction between piracy and salvage, and I wonder if there is going to be a license system for that, and what that distinction is going to be. Obviously, if you blow it up yourself, that's piracy. But I mean, are there going to be, as a salvager, certain taxes and things you have to pay on cargo you bring back, or is it just going to be a general overall license, or is it just going to be a general free-for-all? You know, it's something you can just pick it up and sell it. I don't know. But
there's a game that I have. It's called Avorion or something like that.
Yeah.
And in that game, there's actual, like, big, huge wreck fields where there's, like, massive ships that have just been, you know, destroyed and wrecked or whatever. And you actually have to go to the station, and if you want to salvage those, you buy a salvage license, and it's good for, you know, X amount of minutes. So you can go out there and you salvage as much as you can in that time frame. But you can keep going back and renewing it if you want to salvage more. I believe it's called Avorion.
Well, yeah, it's a real possibility. I mean, talk about those large wreckages that are out there with raw metal and materials and things like that. But you know what's so great about Star Citizen's salvaging mechanic is that, you know, talk about going from the smallest to the largest. I mean, all the way from you get to go, you know, all the way just have a reclaimer and go that route, but you can go all the way down to the guy opening a hatch in a ship that's partially below ground, dropping in and getting out your welder and trying to take components out of a buried ship. That kind of flexibility and that kind of scale. Now, I would like to see them introduce a medium and small class of salvager. Something that has like welders on it. Something similar to like the Prospector maybe, but for salvage. I think it'd be nice for those people out there who are looking at getting into salvaging to have that step up to the next level. Something that carries just a limited amount of cargo, is able to chew some stuff up and bring it back or whatever. Something probably some freelancer sized or whatnot, but something, there needs to be a little bit more gaps, like between basically the welder and the reclaimer. And I think it's very possible that we'll see something like that in the future. Just don't know when, and it may even happen after the game is released, but there needs to be that stepping stone. But yeah, really great stuff this week. Nice looking footage. And as I said, you know, leave your comments down below, guys. We'd like to know what else you'd like to see from this channel. as I said, we have ideas. We were kicking around for a couple hours last night at least.
Yep.
But we don't want to like tell you our ideas because we want to see what meshes. And once again, I'll go ahead and pitch it. Why not? Referral code down below in the description. If you haven't played Star Citizen, now's a good time to get in. 3.0 is right around the corner. Anyway, guys, I think that's about everything this week. We'll see if we can go ahead and get out of Citizen's Corner depending upon questions as the week progresses. Once again, I'm Jarvis. This is the BlastCast. This is Lightning. And he's going to say bye now.
Yeah, bye, everybody.
Bye.